Hello and welcome to Game Soup with Chloe and Kayla. This is a game design podcast where we throw ideas in a pot and see what's cooking. I'm Kayla Dice and I have read 17 books this year.
I've read 0 and I'm Chloe Montgomery.
I've read 16. I'm on my 17th book.
Oh, well, shame on you, Kayla.
Two
Lying
of
to our
those
audience.
are graphic novels, though I've also not added any of the RPGs I've read, so that number's plausibly a bit off in different ways.
Oh, well, look, if we're counting comics, then I've read like 6 or 7 books this year, and I've read several newspaper comics. So,
Yeah, I meant as in I've read like the 2 trade paperbacks of the Power Fantasy, which I do log on my story graph.
oh well.
But I don't log RPGs on there because they're not on there by default. I'd have to add them, and
If
I
it's
can't.
got an ISBN, it counts. That's my official stance.
I'd add RPGs if I had read ones that were on there currently. But I think when I've looked before for smaller ones I've read, I'm like, that's not on there by default. But I would add them because, like I said, I also add comic books. If I listen to any audiobooks, I'd add them. Whereas I'm more picky with Letterboxd. Whereas with Letterboxd, I'm like, I add films. Actually, no, that's not true. I have occasionally logged stand-up specials I've seen. But I never log TV shows or TV events.
I put TV movies on, and if I go to the cinema, I'll always check if whatever I went to see was on there. Like, because I went to see the Doctor Who finale at the cinema, so I added that. But
yeah, see,
yeah,
I'll log TV movies, but I wouldn't log TV things seen at the cinema. Not that I have actually done that in any recent time, but
yeah.
But that would be my weird bias. I'm currently at the point again in this year where I've read more books than I've watched films. That will probably falter.
Yeah. What are you reading at the minute, Kayla?
At the moment, I've just started. I'm literally just a chapter in because I only started reading it and then my housemate came home last night. Bellies by Nicola Denan, because I read her second book, Disappoint Me, which I enjoyed a lot. So I decided to check out her debut. Her first book is like a sort of romance with a trans character, which also involves her like dating a cis guy and discovering some things in his past. That's interesting. It interested me enough that I decided to check out her debut, like I said. Also because I had like a conversation with the bookseller at Waterstones, who was like, I really liked her first book when I bought the second. That's really not relevant to RPGs because that's just like literary, I guess, like romance. But another one that has got me more thinking about RPGs is I read the first volume of a book called On the Calculation of Volume.
Sounds dry.
Well, it's about a woman stuck in a time loop.
Like Groundhog Day style, or?
Yeah, kind of Groundhog Day style, but I guess it's very singularly focused. An interesting difference is she doesn't wake up in the same spot always. She can move physically and then wake up in different places. But I think it's interesting because I feel like most characters who get stuck in time loops and things are single, right?
Sure.
Like, I feel it's because I think in a way, the time loop's kind of a metaphor for depression. Or like...
yeah, being in a rut.
Definitely like a kind of isolation from mental illness. And so like often these characters start isolated. Whereas the interesting thing here is like on like day 3 to 20, she's always able to convince her husband of the time loop. And they're sort of in this together. But then it's like the further into it she gets, it sort of creates this gulf where it's like she can't really tell him that she has experienced 200 days and doesn't remember yesterday in the same way anymore. It's interesting. I liked this book, but this is the thing. It's a volume of a 7-part series. It's a short book. It was only 188 pages. But my first question was like, so did she get out of the time loop in book 1 or...
Yeah, I mean, 7 books at the same time. I can kind of see the appeal. It's like in different books, she's maybe trying different ways to get out, or like is in different stages of her life, as it were.
Skip this skip 30 seconds ahead. But she does get out of the she doesn't get out of the time loop in this book. So the further volumes, which I'm going to at least check out volume 2 and see how I enjoy that. There's part of me that's like, I feel this series could lose me, but I've enjoyed the first book.
Yeah.
But it got me thinking about time loop in games. I feel like the big time loop games I can think of. So I've read Time to Drop by Marness Last Name, which is like one last heist in a time loop, which I think is a fun genre combination. I've not read Thursday, which is the other big time loop TTRPG I can think of.
I can't say I've read any time loop RPG. The only sort of example that's coming to mind is the time loop Arc in the Adventure Zone actual play podcast. But that's more just like a detective story in D&D where they're like, yeah, we know this part, so we can go to a different place now and different events are happening, sort of thing.
Yeah. Like, because I'd been thinking about this for a bit, I was like, what would be an interesting game set in a time loop? And there's an obvious thing of, like, I think a time loop and then layering on any other kind of genre thing. It's inherently quite interesting immediately. Like, that's why Time to Drop's pitch is so cool. And, like, I guess an obvious example is sort of like a murder mystery, which I guess been like sort of background thinking a bit more on. I briefly wondered, like, could maybe combine some of those like noir elements I'd been thinking of for different.
I think you could have a good like murder mystery time loop thing for an RPG, but I wouldn't make the game be about time loop murder mysteries. I think it would have to be like a specific like scenario or adventure for a detective thing, because I don't like it feels like a lot of like I don't know how much you could get away with, and now we're in another time loop and need to solve a mystery.
Oh, well, the thing is, I don't think this is a game you play multiple sessions of. I think it is I think it's a self-contained game. It's entirely like a capsule game.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, like
it's its own scenario with its own mechanic, but I do think it's a self-contained scenario. You resolve this mystery. For a lot of people, that probably takes one session and it's a one-shot, but maybe, depending on what it is, like, it's more drawn out. Thinking on that, I was wondering about, like, if this is kind of a capsule game, would it be very fun to get, like, ultra-specific? And I was kind of thinking of sort of, like, Twin Peaks-esque vibes, like, I was maybe wondering about a thing like, could there be something interesting about maybe you have a unique dream every time between the loops? Like, you always get, like, these, and there may be Twin Peaks-esque dreams with this sort of, like, other place, Red Room-esque place that's, like, giving you sort of clues to the murder you have to solve.
Yeah, I like that as sort of setting the stage in between each act, as it were. Giving you direction if you're a bit lost, sort of thing.
And I was thinking, like, where would I set it? If I was doing something Twin Peaks, setting it in London or somewhere would feel wrong. And I had this idea of, like, I could go ultra-specific and set it in the small town I grew up in of Stanford-le-Hope, which name is kind of a fun one for a murder thing.
I think if you were doing like a proper like, what are we calling them, capsule games? Yeah, it would be it is in this specific town. Here is the surveillance map for it. Here are the pub. Here's the corner shop. Here are the people who live here.
And I think just picking that real place would be a funner way to write that rather than me making up some, like, small town, pseudo-America thing or whatever. I did then think where I was thinking, like, Twin Peaks murder, and I was suddenly like, I do need to make sure if I were to write this and set it in Stanford. I definitely probably shouldn't have it be a murdered schoolchild because people may think then I'm actually doing a true crime game about the real murder of a person that did happen.
I wouldn't write that, but I can see that as a thing that is existing on a shelf, and I'm like, that's a bit distasteful, but like, there's certainly an audience.
I don't think I could. I think maybe there is an audience, but I don't think it feels like an obvious, like, a true crime game about a real thing that is in itself an act of true crime. Like, I think that would be bad and distasteful, like we say, but also I don't think any would have the right temperament to make it. Did you see a while recently on Blue Sky? There's going around people like a quote thing of saying like who's the famous alumni from your school, if any. Did you see that?
I didn't, but I don't have any. So,
is there no one on your? If you click on the Wikipedia page for your school,
I mean, I remember when I was in my sixth form that the Wikipedia page for my sixth form had like a flag that it was being edited by people who worked there. Okay, so there's some politicians, a couple of athletes. Yeah, mostly athletes.
That makes sense. That's where you get sort of weird ranges. But I didn't add a quote tweet because when I went to look it up, the first one on the Wikipedia page was like a name with brackets, murder victim. And I'm like, it just feels like it's bringing a bad vibe to the thing. So I don't think, as much as I'm saying Twin Peaks-esque, I do not think it would involve a murdered school-going age person.
No.
I was wondering, because I think obviously an interesting of solving with a murder mystery in a time loop is this idea of like evidence would be disappearing or appearing at set times.
Yeah, like you have
but
to
also you could never get a coroner's report back because you'd never get to the day where that would come.
Yeah,
but also it's a thing like you always have this gap of time where maybe the murder weapon is in this place, but it's gone by this thing.
Yeah, I think
I did wonder
to finally solve the murder, you have to like plan your day perfectly. So it's like, right, I know the murder weapon's going to be left here, and then it disappears 20 minutes later to go get washed or whatever. So I need to be in that house at 20 minutes, whatever time, and I need to go to the pub and get this confession from whoever, and then whatever, and then I need to present it all at 6 p.m. right before the time loop resets or whatever.
Yeah, I think one thing I have been wondering is like, is this a game about like, I feel like an obvious sort of interesting starting element is that say we give you this solid fact, like this murder happens at 4 a.m. Your time loop starts when you wake up at 9 a.m. So you can't stop. Or is there then an interesting thing of an idea of like, but maybe there are rules to the time loop where you could break it and you could wake up at midnight.
Yeah, I mean,
but
maybe
I don't know.
Maybe there's a thing where instead of solving the murder, you can stop the loop from happening, and that allows you to wake up early to stop the murder, and that's the perfect ending sort of thing.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe that's a sort of hidden possibility in it. And this, actually, this made me feel like, I also feel this is now in some way giving almost Donnie Darko vibes too. I think that's fine. I think this has got a bit of that sort of like Millennium Mindfuck subgenre feel. But yeah, one thing I was thinking about with time loop is I think there's an interesting fact here in terms of writing rules, where you'd be writing rules which are not game rules. It would just be like, these are the rules of the time loop. At the time the characters start at the game, they don't know any of these. The GM knows these, and these are sort of set, and so it's like they can discover the rules of the world through play.
I think like the first time you play through the day, it's like you don't... I mean, I don't know if you'd say to your players that if there is a time loop or not before the first time loop happens. But like the idea that you just do not have access to these rules until the time loop starts.
Yeah, well, I think you don't get... I think the players never get like access to seeing the list of rules. It's purely like they can discover them and write them down because the time loop works in rule-bound ways.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you could keep the time loop aspect. I guess it would depend on the written game how full-throated it is to its presentation. But also maybe it could be. One thing I think is interesting is like, I was thinking about like with roles you do. Like if you have a conversation with someone where you're trying to convince them this thing and you roll that and then that's the result, there'd then be an idea of like, okay, that's now set and that's how that happens. Unless like each loop you just say, oh, I go and have this conversation.
Yeah.
It's mainly identical to the last time we did it. But then anytime you want to change something, it's like, okay, you've got to go back to that conversation now. You've got to re-roll, and you might re-roll worse, or this might be better to unlock that branching thing.
Yeah.
Like, I like the idea of maybe there's a pattern where you're saying, mainly going with this again.
Yeah, it's like in Life is Strange where you can redo conversations by rewinding time. You can just like play the conversation the exact same way by choosing the same options, but then if you can reuse information you would have later gained to go in a different direction.
Yeah, I feel like the moves you would have would be rolling with questions, like building a dice pool or a bonus or whatever based on the answers of questions you answer yes to, because that's a thing that it's like, oh yeah, the context is changing to you for the same situation that is identical for everyone else. I feel this game is either 2 or 3 players, like including GM. Like it's either 1 GM and 1 player or 1 GM and 2 players. Who I think are 2.
It's a multiple player thing, yeah. You can do more interesting things with like the time loop, like one person has to be at this place and another at the other, whatever.
I think there's also an interesting, but like, I think like once you get to say 3 people, it's maybe...
It gets too complicated after a certain amount of
and
people,
also
yeah.
it breaks, like I was saying before of that thing of, oh, it's kind of, I feel like time loops in some ways are all kind of about like mental illness. The more of you who are in it together,
yeah,
you're not getting that feeling of isolation from the people you maybe know but who are in this time loop.
Yeah, if it's a detective and like a partner or whatever, it could be about like the isolation of police work, blah blah blah. But
I don't think you're cops, to be fair.
Well, the isolation of going into this horrible murder world.
Yeah, one thing I was this was then me thinking about the noir stuff and also thinking about this idea of getting ultra specific is where, have you seen much noirs? Any neo-noirs or regular noirs?
I mean, I watched a few noirs in university for the noir, for the genre. I don't know what to call it. No, the subject was genre. That's what it was on my timetable. So, genre class. So, yeah, but I'm not like well versed in it.
Well, I was thinking how a lot of characters in certain noirs, maybe this more neo-noir thing, but I feel it's in some class, like they end up early on kind of like injured or beat up in a way, and then they're going around with like an injury that's getting sort of like aggravated and stuff. Like in Chinatown, someone like cuts Jake on his nose throughout it. In like Brick, which was Ryan Johnson's first film, like Joseph Gordon-Levitt gets like the shit kicked out of him early on, and he's clearly suffering from like internal bleeding through the whole thing. There's a more like bigger examples, like I said, they're more neo-noir or later noir. But I think in other things it often is the case of someone will get like beat up early on and is nursing some wound the whole time.
You get into a bar fight the night before and you wake up in like on a bench or something and you're beat up from this thing and you have to go through the entire day feeling like shit and slightly hungover. That
could work. The idea that I had was more specific, was thinking about, I guess, where I'm past is I suddenly thought like, oh, what if your character is quite specifically someone who is 1 month into recovering from bottom surgery?
You're
quite specifically...
Oh, yeah.
You're quite specifically a trans character who's a month into bottom surgery. So you can move around and stuff, but like a bunch of activity is clearly painful.
Yeah.
I think that's a quite interesting twist on that.
How many days in do you stop dilating?
I don't know, because I didn't dilate.
Oh, well...
Because I had a different... I just had vulvoplasty.
Princess.
So I would probably also make this character also just have vulvoplasty. And then I would sort of have to do this thing of like, just so everyone knows, this character isn't me. I'm aware it's set in my hometown.
And it's about a trans character.
After surgery.
Yeah.
And we might also point out, like, hey, Kayla, did you know someone who died quite soon after you had bottom surgery? But, like, this isn't about that. She wasn't murdered, and I never got stuck in a time loop. I think there's maybe one other character...
Kayla? You need some therapy?
I'm fine, honestly. I'm doing great.
Okay, sweetheart.
This was a very long time ago, which is why I feel like I could write a game that is about a character... involves a character recovering from bottom surgery, and I'm not writing about myself. Because to be also, I have no real... I didn't find surgical recovery difficult.
Well.
So it sounds really... I don't know. It sounds rude to say. It's like, oh, was it hard? And I'm like, not really. Sure, it was hard for some people. I think like 3 weeks after I had surgery, I hosted a wrestling show and was like jumping off a ring.
Well, some of us had to dilate.
Yeah, maybe that's the only difference.
Yeah. But we need to get away from this. Away from this. So I'll just keep being bitchy at you. So,
But I think that's one character. I think maybe this character could be like have returned to Stanford to as part of recovery, which also creates this interesting thing of like, yeah, this character, she probably doesn't know many of the people very well around her. I think maybe the second character is also pre-written. I don't know so much who they'd be, but I think they'd be a person who could be more in tune with the
they know the local scene.
Yeah, I think like these two characters wouldn't know each other at the start of the thing, so
but then
they both be drawn together by. They're both in the loop, and they're both trying to solve the murder. And I think increasingly they're having the same dreams and remembering each other in each other's dreams.
That's what brings them together in the second loop, yeah.
This is either a really fun idea or like so overly niche. But I know there is part of me that's like, do I want to write an RPG or am I actually pitching plans for a novella?
Yeah, this might be a TV series.
But I do think there could be something fun about, like, a self-contained mystery with this sci-fi twist that you're doing as a capsule game, and that allows you to get specific with characters. Because I think I can give lots of specifics about the characters without telling you what their personality is. Because I think that still allows you to decide how the fuck you play a person.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Like, recovering from surgery, struggles to get around a little bit. Likes to play sport, but can't at the minute.
This will also being more specific will allow me to very much make a character who is not you. That's not really what this character is.
Yeah.
I think I'm also bringing in, like I said, some of that how to get to heaven from Belfast energy. I think maybe the murder victim is someone the trans character would have known in school. But
like a childhood friend.
Lost contact with entirely. I think maybe the thing that's drawing her into the murder mystery is like a message request from like 2 days before the murder that she doesn't see until the first day in the time loop, being like, did we go to school together?
It's like they're trying to reconnect with you. And so it's like,
yeah,
oh, okay.
And then she died. What happened? And I think, maybe the murder is a bit sort of Killer Bob-esque of being some sort of kind of possessing force coming from this dream world. Like I say, maybe it's just me wanting to write a story. But I do think there's some interesting, fun game stuff you could do in a time loop. I feel if I were to explore this idea further, I should read Thursday because,
any further, and we're going to start writing words on a Word document. So,
but I think I should read Thursday because I think the time loop thing this would be during Mostrom would be more Russian Doll than Palm Springs or Groundhog Day, and so that is also a game that's doing
maybe
like I think that
Death Day could be sort of.
Yeah, anchor. I know that's quite I feel because that's murder mystery, but she's also the murder victim. But that would, I think, make sense as at least the first one to check out that. And then I guess it would probably be writing out a lot of this plot stuff, I think. And that would probably be the part where I'd hopefully realize, like, am I writing what could be a capsule game, or do I want to write some fiction? And maybe it would be fun. Maybe if it turns into fiction, I'll write some fiction.
Yeah, well.
I've got fucking range.
It's never been said that you don't have range, Miss Podcaster, wrestling teacher,
comedian.
I knew there was a third thing. Well, there you go.
Yeah, I keep thinking of coming back to stand up, and I've actually sent some that.
Oh well.
But also because I do just have what I think is a good joke is getting on stage in the wheelchair, shuffling with the mic for a bit, and the opening line is just, I am aware this is not technically stand-up. But it's close enough, right?
Sit down comedy.
We're probably at a good length for episode. Is there anything you want to mention or go over?
Yeah, if you're listening to the pod on the day it comes out, the sale is still ongoing, so help me pay for the repairs I've done for my car. She got new pedals, and she does feel tighter. It does feel like my car got bottom surgery. So
He does feel tighter.
yeah. Yeah, and I'll be at Aircon in 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh, nice. What day are you doing Aircon? You're doing the whole weekend, aren't you?
Whole weekend, yeah. So it's in 2 weeks from the day this episode comes out.
Yeah. I think Laurie...
Yeah, I saw
12
Pins
Press
was going.
is there for the Friday. It's
Yeah,
just
well.
I'm not at Aircon. But yeah, also if you're listening to this after the day comes out, you can still buy everything on Chloe's Itch. You just now have to give her more money, which is not the worst thing in the world.
Maybe wait. Who knows? Thank you for listening.
See you next week.